Welcome back to Russell Does Stuff. This is Russell. I have Monday afternoons off, Tuesday afternoons off, Wednesdays if I get my Mondays and Tuesdays done. I have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. I was used to working 50, 60-hour weeks. Didn't go to the gym. Didn't do much. I came home 5 o'clock or so, and I would sit on the couch and I would try to take a nap, eat dinner, go to bed, rinse and repeat. Maybe throw in a couple dog walks if I felt like it. I had no time to do things around the house. I didn't keep up with repairs. Fix my collar here. I didn't have time to fix repairs. It made me lazy. I would go out to eat when I should have stayed home. It's just, your mind thinks it's easier to just go out and kill yourself with your fork instead of making, food at the house. So, being a business owner can be really stressful. Once you get your business built up, you have a lot of customers that want your attention. They want a piece of your time. And that's okay, because that's part of the dough. You need your phone to ring. You need interaction with these people. It gives you an opportunity to find out what their problem is and solve it. Sometimes customers will call me and, I'll wait till you get to the house and I'll explain to you what my problem is. And then you're thinking about it, their problem, for the weekend, or you can't sleep at night. You're in bed, wide awake, trying to problem solve. Your brain is a problem-solving computer. And that's why when you can't think of something during the day, like your favorite band's bass player's name, 3 o'clock in the morning, you wake up and you're like, oh, that's his name. Well, your brain's quietly at work trying to solve the world's biggest mysteries while you're sleeping. Brain's a very interesting computer that rides on top of our shoulders. So I'm up with the chickens this morning. I'd go for a little stroll. So now that I'm not doing the 50, 60 plus hours, I feel like, I'm skipping school. What do I do today? Well, I'm used to doing things for other people. So I'm having to reprogram my habits. And making a list helps, keeps me focused. Go to the gym, write it down. Run to Home Depot or Tractor Supply, write it down. I got to go to the parts store today to pick up some parts for that stolen mower that I got back. Hydraulic hoses, hydraulic fan that the kid broke. It's no fun. Buying stuff that you shouldn't have to buy because someone stole your lawnmower. But I'm grateful to have it back, and hopefully we'll get the rest of the stuff that kid stole from me. I'm going to set the camera down. I bought a microphone. I don't know if it works or not. The instructions were so tiny that I need to go get a magnifying glass to interpret them. I did a whole video, the world's best sales video, the other day, and I used my microphone and it wasn't working. So, and that's all right. You know, I'll get better at this. Yesterday was a stressful day. The lawyer that helped me get my lawn equipment, my lawnmower back, we're still working on the rest of the stuff, had to go to court for a situation that he's been in for 3 years or so. He lost his house in Hurricane Ian, and 60 Minutes interviewed him about his situation. And I did a video on that. And it's interesting in life when something happens to you, you know, unforeseen circumstances, like, you know, somebody robs you or whatever. Sometimes you meet people through that. And I met a really good person through that. And I've known him now for, I think in October will be a year. I've known him, October will be a year. And we've gone to lunch and we've spent a lot of time on the phone, and stopped by his office a lot over that year, and him and I have bonded. He's a really good guy. So I went to the courthouse yesterday to support him. I drugged the wife with me. And we sat on these really hard, uncomfortable benches and sat there for 3 hours listening to both sides go back and forth. It was very interesting. I had anxiety being in the courtroom. I wasn't in trouble or anything, but I had the anxiety, mostly because of him. You know, what happened to him, I wouldn't wish on my enemy. So, in closing arguments, my friend's attorney had to mention his health situation. Well, Jeff was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer, and he's 57 years old. And he's known about it for maybe 5 months. They did an operation on his intestines, and then they did a blood test, and then, you know, it came back with a high score. And that rocked me, you know. It threw me back. You know, my friend's got something horrible going on with him, you know. And I looked at my wife and I said, I need to get up and walk out. I just, you know, it's like a ton of bricks landed on me, you know. So no, she convinced me to stay and stuff, and I did. And the reason I was there was to support him. You know, the news media and stuff, you know, want his attention because of this case. The funny thing is, nobody was there. Nobody sat on his side, but my wife and I. You know, and the officer in the courtroom, he said, you know, what are you guys doing here? You know, we're on vacation, and we thought, you know, hey, court closes at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, courthouse closes. I said, hey, let's pop in and get some air conditioning, go through the metal detectors and stuff, you know, use the bathroom. Which was strange, you know. Why would he ask us what we were doing? Were we a, you know, security? Did we look like a security threat or whatever? I don't know. Maybe I'm menacing looking. I don't know. So yesterday was a pretty interesting day. So we surprised them afterwards with a home cooked meal. My wife makes this casserole, and it's chicken and stuff, and then you put a bunch of tater tots on it, give it that mush crunch thing, you know. She makes these for people who have, like my friend Greg had his knee replaced. So, and his son and girlfriend's living with them right now because their house was destroyed by the hurricane also. And so she made this big old container full of this stuff, you know, this magic food, and put the tater tots all over it and everything. I mean, that sucker weighed like 20 pounds by the time she was done. So we hot-footed it over to his house, and he had just had his knee replaced. So his wife wasn't home, so I said, where's a good place to put this so the cats or the dogs or the raccoons won't get it? So somebody gave him a refrigerator, so it was in his carport. So I set the good stuff on top of the refrigerator, and we left. So not thinking, you know, Greg can't stand or walk or reach out to pick up anything over his ears. He had to wait until somebody came home in order to bring the good goop into the house. So they wound up eating that for about 4 days. That's how much casserole was in that container. You know, it fed like 8 people 3 times a day for 4 days. Greg always speaks his mind, and he said, Russ, I appreciate that, but no more. So I think we're going to make him another one as a joke, drop it off. So the point of this video is stress. You know, I was stressed and stuff yesterday, and I didn't feel like working on my YouTube channel. And I remember when I was just starting my business, it was stressful, you know, and I didn't feel like sometimes not pushing forward and getting up early and getting the equipment ready and stuff. And you know, when you're not prepared for your morning, it's called rolling with it. Just roll with it, you know. And whatever happens, I'll overcome. And normally, whatever happens does happen. So I should have made a YouTube video yesterday because everything would have been raw and real and stuff, but I made the decision to put it off until today. Jeff still has cancer. I'm still concerned. You know, your friend could die. You know, how long does he have to live? How do you comfort this person? How do you give him guidance? How do you you want to make him laugh? You know, I mean, what do you do? And it's a little stressful. Like I want to call him today and say, hey, you know, you want to go to Hooters and have lunch with me? He loves them little chicken wing things, you know. Or you just kind of lay back on the sidelines and just wait, and maybe the spirit will talk to you and say, hey, you know, wait for that voice that says, what are you doing? Get off the couch and act. You know, call Jeff, you know, take him out to lunch. Maybe he really needs to see somebody, and you know, and you're going to miss that opportunity to bring a little joy in his life. I'm not saying that people find joy when I'm around. So I'm not sure if I'm going to put that on my list or not today, but when I'm done with this video, I'm going to put a question mark by it, because the part store's over where he has his office, so we'll see. I mentioned in a video a few days ago about friends, and I lost my train of thought because somebody pulled out in front of me. I have a lot of friends, and the point that I was trying to make, because my mind reminded me in 3 in the morning about my lost thought, was that I've had friends with no money friends with a little bit of money, friends with a little bit more money than that guy, and friends with gobs and super duper gobs of money, you know. And my goal has always been to work hard and the money will come. And that's exactly what happened. All right. If you go out and you work, someone is going to give you money. If they're honest and they're not trying to screw you over, they're going to give you money for your time. If all you're concentrating on is the money, and I have an ex-friend that I cut out of my life. All he cares about is money. Okay? When it comes to girls, he doesn't care about money. He'll spend every damn dollar he's got on women. All right? But when it comes to money, what are your thoughts on money? You know, the one guy, he died with he died with $1.50 to his name. Never owned anything. Never had a brand new truck. Never owned land. Never owned a house. You know. And every time I seen him, he was happy. He was like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. He was just happy, you know. The guy that makes $3,400 a year, he's almost 70. He's made about that kind of money for 40 years, you know. He just decided a long time ago that he didn't want to work for someone else. So I'm not joking. That's about his income. You know, he seems to always have a beer. He always has something to eat. His refrigerator always works. He doesn't run his air. He has a truck from the 1950s. Chevy. It's green. You can, you know, see him going down the road because he's got the only one. He does what he wants. He sleeps in however long he wants. He stays up however long he wants. He plays a lot of pool in his living room. If he wants to fix up something he found on the side of the road, he will. You know, he has a very simple life. You know, he's not out trying to start a gas station or service business or a grocery store or something. No, that's his thing. And there's another guy that had about $500,000 or more in the bank. And he passed away, and he lived very simple. He would go to the bar and have a couple beers. He would go to lunch. He mowed his own lawn. You know, he had a used vehicle. He lived very, very, very simple. And he had, you know, over $500,000 or so in his bank when he died. You know, was his goal to have that kind of money in the bank? You know, never really asked him. You know, I know customers worth millions of dollars, and one of them's passed away, and they went to the mailbox and checked the mail. They put the garbage out on the curb. You know, they had lawn service. They had pool service, you know. Lived a very comfortable life and were very wealthy. They never used any of that money that they made. You know, $1.50 was security for someone else. $2 million was security for someone else. You know. I guess it all comes down to do your own thing. And don't be stressed out about it. The guy with $1.50, he didn't have any stress in his life. The guy that makes $3,400, yeah, he's got some stress in his life. You know, he gets down scraping the bottom of his money bag. He's a little stressed out, but he gets up and he'll go find something, fix it up, and sell it. You know, so the guy with the $500,000 in his bank, he wasn't stressed out about anything. He was like Tigger also. He had no worries. The guy with the $2 million, I think he worried a lot. worried about his money, and I better not spend any of it. I found myself kind of in those shoes. Oh, I got to change my spending habits now that I'm only working, 12, 13, 14 hours a week. I have to change my spending habits now. And I was worried about that. Just let it go. I have to have the same attitude I had when I was working, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. If you do it, it'll come. So I'm going to do this, and it's going to come. It's the same thing. It's a mindset. Careful what you chase. You spend your whole life chasing something you'll never use and you never really needed to begin with. It's like when we were kids and we had nothing. We didn't know we didn't have anything. I had a bicycle that we got from the dump. I didn't get the bike all at one time. I got it one tire at a time. Maybe next week we found a seat, maybe found handlebars a month later, I didn't know we were broke. And if we were rich, I probably wouldn't have known we were rich. I probably would have thought like some of the rich kids I knew, hey, we're a little different. People look at us a little funnier. But when we had nothing, those people were looking at us like they were, looking at us funny. You never know when you're going to get hit by a train, So why worry about it? People don't retire because they feel that they don't have enough, and they're just thoughts. I go to these Social Security seminars, and it scares the hell out of you. You need $40 million in order to retire. I'll never make that kind of money in my lifetime. Well, that's not true. I think you make about X amount of millions in your lifetime. But I'm just saying to accumulate all that in your life and have it all in the bank, I don't think that's not going to happen. Unless, I walk into Publix one day and someone says, buy the lottery now, It's funny, in this town I live in, every year one person in this town will hit the big time. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people before her and after purchasing those tickets, trying to hit the big time. So it does happen. I've known a lot of lottery winners. And I've watched and studied their behavior. You go out and you spend $100,000 on everything, get it out of your system, and then they're back to doing the things that the guy with the $1.50 is doing, and the guy with $500,000 is doing. How many times can you go to Paris? Like I said, these guys aren't flying around in their jets every 5 seconds. So, I think all those thoughts are out of my head. I want to give a shout out to a good man named Stevie G. He owns a barbecue. I don't even know if you want to call it a barbecue, because the things he works on are fancy outdoor cooking devices, okay? And I have some knowledge about some of those things. If you live close to the water, they deteriorate pretty fast. And some of these outdoor kitchens are expensive, okay? And this guy is super neat and super awesome. And he's a subscriber to the channel. And he started a business from scratch. And I don't want to say anything about his story or how he did it or what his mindset was and how he's doing right now and stuff with his business. I challenged him to get off the sidelines and swing that camera. Tell his story. Share his story with everybody. You know, I was really, really, really impressed with this guy. Okay. To be honest with you, when he was talking about his business, I felt a little intimidated. Like maybe he should be in charge of Russell Does Stuff's YouTube channel. The guy's business acumen or whatever was up here, and I'm like, I feel like I'm down here. Like I said, super sharp guy. I would like him to share what he told me to you guys. Okay. I think he lives over in LA. That's where his business is at. And when I talk to him next, maybe I'll throw up the name of his business and stuff. If you guys are, in that area and you're having some issues with your grill and stuff, give this guy a call. The way he approaches his business, I don't know anybody else that does that. When I take care of a property, I turn around and I look at it before I leave, and if it ain't my quality, I'll stop and I'll make it my quality. I'm serious. I will shut the truck off. I will grab whatever I need to make this property my quality. And the passion he has for quality in the niche that he's in, I'm blown away. So Stevie G, thumbs up to you, brother. And maybe he'll pick up the camera and swing it and tell his story. I kind of, let me find a stick. I kind of poked him with the stick when I had a conversation with him. He inspired me, and I like that stuff, man. Being inspired by people, woo, There's a guy, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I like to see what some of these salesmen on YouTube are up to. And there's a guy that, goes around with his shirt off, and he's always flexing, and his handshakes are all rugged, and he's got this band of fitness gurus, kids with him that he's turned into fitness gurus, and I think he has a podcast, and he's a sales guy, and he's into, he's mixed sales strategies with lifting weights, and I'm like, well, all right, you want to be a buff salesman, this is your guy, and he sells lifestyle changing packages to people. Something for me, I don't know. Something for you guys, maybe. But at the end of his seminar that you pay for, he'll call people up, and I'm sure he picks out the specific peoples, and he has them rip their shirt off on stage in front of everybody. And a little self-reflection here, you're standing up there, half naked after a seminar. I've never seen anything like it in my life, I thought, I would let everybody know when I reach 1,000 subscribers, I'll cut the sleeves off one of my shop shirts. But I'm like, do I really want to go around with no sleeves on my shirt? Heavy D from the Diesel Brothers. Do people want to see my chicken wings? I don't know. So I think I'll get 1,000 subscribers without having to do that, hopefully. So. But anyway, this is Russell with Russell Does Stuff, and if you like this kind of stuff, hit the like and subscribe button. Help a brother out. If you're just passing through accidentally and somehow you were looking for camping videos and you came across this ugly guy sitting in the woods, rambling on about stress and some business stuff, his new buddy Stevie G, hit the like and subscribe button. help a brother out, help a stranger out today. Do something good for a stranger. Maybe come back in a couple weeks or a month and get to know me and the channel. Maybe learn something. I got some videos coming up. I'm going to do a part 2 to the world's greatest sales video. Maybe next couple days or so I'm going to do that. And I appreciate every single one of you, and thanks for supporting the channel. And this is Russell with Russell Does Stuff.